Okay, Lynn, the next question comes from a national official of the AFL-CIO. He says, Mr. LaRouche, last week I was asked to talk with a presidential advisory group that is discussing issues around economic recovery. And I presented a picture which was dire at best. I was a little bit surprised when just a couple of days later, at an economics club luncheon in Washington, Larry Summers said that while there were what he called still substantial downdrafts in the economy, which I suppose is how he refers to 500,000 Americans losing their jobs every month, he also said, and this is a quote, but you also have to see that there has been a substantial anecdotal flow in the last 6 to 8 weeks of things that felt a little bit better. Well, I don't know what he's feeling, but from where I sit, I firmly would assert that you cannot talk about any measure of economic recovery unless you address the fact that Americans are still losing jobs by the millions. I recently had lunch with my friend Robert Reich, and we talked about some of these issues. I also spoke to him on the phone after I heard what Summers had to say. And Reich responded by saying that for the first time in a long time, he found himself agreeing with at least half of what Larry Summers said. He said he agreed with Larry that we have passed recession. He said that where he disagreed is that he believed that we had passed recession and gone into depression. Reich has repeatedly pointed out that aside from the fact that we've lost millions of jobs, that every lost job has a multiplier effect throughout the economy, and that essentially it is unemployment and not the prospect of bank failures per se that create the broader anxiety that keeps Americans from spending money, which in turn leads to more job losses, et cetera, et cetera. Reich, Galbraith, Krugman, and many other leading economists agree with us that the government should stop fooling around with Wall Street and instead put its resources into creating jobs. Galbraith spoke before Congress recently, and one of the things that he said was that the most important current economic fact remains the loss of 600,000 jobs every month, and that there can be no talk of recovery without job growth. I'd be interested in hearing, number one, if you agree, number two, how you think that jobs should be created, and finally, and this may seem like a very simple question, but I really do think that it's time that the question is posed, and that is, how do you define a depression?
A depression is what has happened long since and going down still. We're in a depression. The fact is that if you look at, people play with money. They talk about money. Now, money today is pretty much fake. It's fraudulent. There's no control over the way it's uttered. And there are all kinds of things that are used to generate money. But you say, what you're looking at essentially, you're looking at something which is very much like what happened in Germany in 1923. You're looking at a period which went into a takeoff period in which they began printing money to compensate for a collapse in production. They kept doing it. Well, in Germany's case, they had no choice because they were under Versailles conditions, and they were forced to do that. They were not allowed to do anything else. It was under the threat of occupation of Germany and looting of it. So it was at the point of a gun. But this is not at the point of a gun as such. This is the system doing to itself what Germany did in 1920s under the Versailles conditionalities. So now you're looking at what is the physical output per capita, the net physical output per capita of the nation. What is the net physical output per capita of the collection of nations? What is it? It is collapsing. The production of this means is collapsing. What about the auto industry? What part of the economy of the United States, Germany, Italy, France, and so forth is represented and tied up in the automobile industry? It's collapsing. What is happening with agriculture? What is happening with basic economic infrastructure? In other words, to put money aside, what is the reality, the physical reality of economy? Don't say what people are buying. Ask, what are they eating? What are they wearing? Where are they living? How long are they going to be able to continue to live there under present conditions? What's happening to medical care? What about medical care in the United States? Doesn't anybody know we're on the verge of a total collapse of medical care and the pension system and everything else? What does it take for people to realize that that's reality? That what they're talking about, are we really bankrupt? We're talking about spending money. It's irrelevant. Doesn't mean anything. So they keep asking. See, the problem is the cowardice, even in these questions. You ask a question which is not relevant in order to create a doubt about something which you already know with certainty is true. Are people producing less? Are people eating more poorly? Is medical care, necessary medical care, a vanishing quality of life? What's your drinking water like? What's your educational system like? What are all the things that go into making an economy, a physical economy, in which people live? Not the fantasy which they dream about money or sign pieces of paper and call it wealth. The United States is being destroyed. China is being destroyed. Russia is being destroyed. India is being weakened. Continental Europe is being destroyed from Poland westward. What does it take for people to recognize that we're not in a recession? We're not even in a depression. We're in a breakdown crisis. This is a crisis, a crash with no bottom. What do you do with such a system? Well, we decide we're going to go back into the production business. Don't worry about what's happening to the money. Stop trying to stop the bailout psychosis. You can't prime the pump if there's no water in it. We're insane. But the problem you're getting from the Congress is they ask these questions, which are sincere questions in a certain manner, but there's a gimmick. The gimmick is what? We're not ready to get lynched by bankers. Look what's happening all over the world. I have a very simple solution, as I've said many times. If I get together with Russia, China, and India, and a few other countries that would join us, this world's going to change. You need enough power together change the world. In Western and Central Europe, there's no capability of doing anything right now. They haven't got the guts to do it, and they don't have the system to do it. They don't have the guts to establish the system to do it. In the United States, everybody's afraid of the bankers. Everybody's worried about Wall Street. I said, burn down Wall Street. Let's get it over with. Stop talking about Wall Street. It's no good. It's dead. Burn it down. We got a cow pasture down there, something like that. We call it the Center for the Promotion of the Milk of Human Kindness. No, the whole thing is people are kidding themselves, even asking these questions. We know the system is bankrupt. We know it's worse than the Depression of the 1930s already, because this is a breakdown crisis. And under this system, there never will be a recovery. Somebody said they saw the recovery, you say, was there a psychiatrist? There will never be a recovery of this system. What we can do is use our knowledge and experience of the past. We can create a sound system. The power of government can create a system. We've had experience in creating sound systems before. We have a system. All you have to do is here's Alexander Hamilton, faced with the fact that the state banks of the now newly independent United States are all bankrupt because of the financing of the Revolutionary War. So therefore, he created an institution which says, okay, we're now going to promise to make certain commitments which we will capitalize as monetary wealth assets. We will accept that debt. We will take that debt as our national debt. We will promise to pay that national debt. And on our willingness to pay, meet that promise, we will create a new system which looks as if nothing bad had happened in the meantime. What you want is you want the factories open. I want now what used to be the automobile industry, which is the largest single repository of the machine tool capability and potentiality of the United States still surviving. I want that floor space and that personnel organized. I want it capitalized. I want to create a new infrastructure industry, which is going to fix our water systems, that is the canal systems and things like that. It's going to build a new railway system. We can build a magnetic levitation system for the United States. We can do that. We know how. We have the technology available. Let's do it. We can build nuclear power plants. And without nuclear power plants, we can't do much of anything. We can build nuclear power plants on a scale never imagined before. We can develop sufficient high degrees of power to perform miracles in technology. We can rebuild the agricultural potential of the United States. We can rebuild cities that are hopeless. They're not productive because they're such condition. And we need these things urgently. We need to rebuild our healthcare system. It's urgent. It's not economic waste. Building a healthy population is the first key to increasing productive powers of labor. We have all the needs. All we have to do is have a government that says we're going to do it. And I'm prepared to say that that's a good investment. We can take a debt of the United States government and use that commitment to indebtedness to rebuild the U.S. economy along the lines parallel to what was done under Roosevelt in the 1930s and early 1940s. We can do that. So let's do it. Stop debating these questions, which are simply questions, posing questions that you can't answer. And then say, how do I answer this question? It's not a problem. What you have to do is, instead of trying to answer these questions one at a time, what you have to do is say, what are we going to do to cure the problem? And start from that end. Establish a system of credit and regulation which enables us to start putting people back to work in productive functions. That will solve the problem. It's the only thing it will. So stop trying to negotiate with these swine, these so-called financial swine. Why do it? They're only thieves. You want to do something with them? Put them in prison.